Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and it's here. It's real. I already uploaded a trailer reaction, but I can't stop watching it. So I wanted to make a video where we slow things down, talk a little bit about some of the context of some of the things that are brought up in the trailer, and also talk about some extra comments that were made, because we know who's producing and directing it, and there actually is a post over on the PlayStation blog that we'll bring up after we actually go over this trailer. So if you want to watch the trailer in its entirety or my reaction to the trailer, there's separate links for that in the description of this YouTube video. I'm also recording this live on Twitch, so thank you Twitch chat for putting up with this, and you can find those same things in YouTube as well. But there's a lot to pick apart with Final Fantasy XVI's trailer. So we're going to go back to the beginning, and we're going to be stopping fairly frequently. They're going to have the volume down a little bit lower. But we also have captions for this, so we don't miss a beat. So we start with the scene by a campfire with a few soldiers that are part of a unit. This guy with tattoo on his face, which is kind of hard to make out. Now, this was the first bit right here. Let me see if I can get it with the closed caption. Shiva's dominant. So we're going to be seeing a lot of summons in this trailer. We see Titan, we see Shiva, we see Ifrit, we see Phoenix, and we actually see a hint of another one. Plus, we can probably figure some of the other traditional summons are obviously in the game. Now, they're called icons here, which bears a striking similarity to Final Fantasy XIV's terms for the summon, specifically what the Garleans call them. Now, I wouldn't take this past anything but a surface level decision. I'm going to spoil a later part of the video. The producer is Naoki Yoshida, and the director is Hiroshi Takai, both of which who have worked on Final Fantasy XIV for ages. It's even under Creative Division 3, which is Yoshi P's division, which makes this the long speculated thing that he's had in his division, the unnamed title we all suspected it was. And so I think just the term icon, a lot of people are going to try to draw like comparisons between 14 and 16 for that. I think it's literally just reusing the term. They've used all sorts of terms for summons across time. And this game is very high fantasy. So I sincerely doubt it takes place in anything resembling like another Shard or anything like that. I do suspect a collaboration event, however, because that's going to be a big thing. So the first takeaway is right in this first sentence. They call it Shiva's dominant. So we're going to see a trend throughout the rest of the trailer where it seems that each of the icons has what is called a dominant, which I would assume is their summoner in a sense. Now, that's a little bit up for debate because of something we see the main character do in the combat a little bit later. So it needs to be expanded upon a little bit. But this entire opening scene here is them claiming their target to assassinate is just the dominant. And it's a woman. It's a girl. You can see them fighting on Chocobo back. That dude just literally jumps up and tackles that guy off of his Chocobo. Then we obviously have Titan's dominant is somewhere here. Shiva's dominant is battle. So Shiva and Titan are both battling. So this force, it's hard to tell if that guy's dead. This guy, this force, it's hard to tell because they're clearly not on the side of Shiva or Titan. So this little assassination crew is obvious. It's not on either of the nations that are fighting side, because if they're going to be assassinating Shiva's dominant, or they say there's the target, I guess they don't say they're assassinating, but you'd assume that's what it means. Maybe kidnap or whatever it is they're looking for. But however, the Titan clearly isn't on their side either, because that dude is dead. That guy is dead. No hand. He's dead. That's it. That's it. Now we get mention of mother crystals. Again, I don't think this has anything to do with Hydaelyn or Final Fantasy XIV. Crystals are a really common theme across a lot of the classic Final Fantasy games. Even in the more recent ones, they are. So I think, again, just reusing the term mother crystal, especially because this trailer seems to state that like crystals have kind of run the course of history this entire time, and that may be changing across the course of the game itself.
This will be a bitter fight.
Now we just get a little bit of a nice innocent fantasy, very high fantasy scene.
We have discussed this.
You can see the boy using his power, so if you haven't seen it yet, you'll see some of his power right there.
I am Joshua's shield. I'm sworn to protect him.
There you go. So we see that guy fight, and we finally get a little bit of a look into the gameplay. Now, a lot of people saw this and instantly thought Final Fantasy XV. And I kind of understand that because it is the most recent main series game and it was also an action style game. However, I'd like to remind everyone, one of the lead combat developers for Dragon's Dogma and Devil May Cry 5 was brought onto the Square Enix team some time ago, and it garnered very large attention, and this is likely the outcome of that. It's more likely that we're seeing essentially Devil May Cry meets Final Fantasy. Now that comes with some questions, because odds are that means there will be no party members, which doesn't really surprise me when you're going for a game style like this. It's not impossible to have party members, but they're almost always going to be so inferior to the main character, i.e. Final Fantasy 15 or Kingdom Hearts or something along those lines, that it might be better to focus just on the main player's gameplay experience. That's going to be a downer for some people. For me, I don't care, because I love games like this in particular, especially if it is really Devil May Cry meets Final Fantasy. But that is going to be something to keep in mind. Now, it looks like he's fighting a goblin here, and there's also... Now, who was that? Another enemy? Who's that? Is that like a Spectre on the right? There's just some dude on the right. It's either an NPC. I doubt it's a party member, but it's probably an NPC in the area. It doesn't look like him. You know what it looks like? So he's part of a troop of guys there, that like a little assassination / mission crew. It's probably one of them, but I don't think they're going to be party members is the thing. It's a question mark, maybe he is, but he looks like he's being useless compared to the main character. So I'm going to assume he's just along for the ride. So yeah, I get some very Devil May Cry 5-ish. Even the way the camera is kind of panned, having played in Platinum Devil May Cry 5, this camera right here, that exact string of attacks and the physics and everything, it's so Devil May Cry 5 to me. So it's all over. I'm all over it. I'm all over it. Some people have also been saying things like Witcher meets Final Fantasy. I've played The Witcher, and Witcher's gameplay is ass compared to what I'm seeing right now. So definitely more Devil May Cry. But the scenery, the very high fantasy scenery, does give it a kind of witchery vibe that I kind of understand why people go that route. But no, yeah, it's just really the high fantasy thing kind of reminds me of The Witcher. Anything that's high fantasy is going to get compared to Witcher, I feel like, especially like kind of the foggy area. Even this little scene right here, I mean, even if people have only seen like the Netflix series, this kind of gives me still that vibe, but this guy is way more angry. Talking about pledging swords for the cause, too generic of a line to really break down all too much. I would like to point out the bald dude behind him, though. That dude is massive and not messing around. So it's just, I couldn't help but notice him. He looks bored, though. Now this is fighting a Malboro. We get some rapid fire mechanics here, but we're still seeing mostly the same kind of combat style. A lot of dodging, air dodges here, fire attacks, things like that. Now we see it was the Dalmacs who drove back the Crusaders in the Battle of the Twin Realms. Now there's a lot of words that are just thrown around, which is fantasy mumbo jumbo. We don't know. We could assume the Dalmex and the Crusaders are the two people who were fighting earlier. Crusaders probably Titan, Dalmex probably Shiva. But we actually have no idea the scope of time between what we saw earlier and when this is, or if it's referring to a previous battle or anything like that. But I'm willing to bet she's the main villain, by the way. I'm going to be shocked if she's not the main villain of the game somehow. I can't help but feel like it's going to be her or some character we haven't seen yet. I doubt it's the guy. It's the pipe. Yeah, it's got to be the pipe. Or I don't think it's the guy saying pledge our swords to the cause, but I haven't seen another character that really screams main villain in this trailer. So she's on my list right now. She's on my list as one of the main villains at the very least. Or maybe that guy. Some of these guys in this shot have pretty ominous looks. At the very least, they're all in it together. I don't really know how else to really describe it, but she's got that sass about her. I feel like she's gonna be the main villain. We got our Dragoon. We need the classic Dragoon up in there. Now here we get to see some things that start to look interesting. So we notice that his right arm is where he's wielding the weapon, and his left arm was glowing most of the time he was using his fire attacks. Here he actually starts using attacks that use Phoenix's wing, and you see that one looked like a launcher. And he gets right there, he takes a hit right there, dodge, teleport, swing, after they defeat him. See, he's fighting him alone, but the other dudes are here, they're just not doing anything. Now, Imperials, those are the Imperials that came to attack them, Imperial Vipers. I'm assuming Vipers just an offensive term more so than like an actual unit they have there. So it looks like Imperials are looking to invade while there's chaos reigning amongst everything else. So no big surprises there. So seeing some parallels to some infighting in in the region, plus some outside influence looking to invade and take advantage of the situation. Also fighting a Coral here. I gotta say, this is the first time I freeze framed it. That Coral's face. Oh my goodness, the detail on it is so good. We don't really see anything about the fighting. Now, this is interesting. This is where we start to get another idea of how the combat's going to work. Because it's the Devil May Cry 5/Dragon's Dogma combat developer, and it looks like you're only going to be playing as one person at a time. This we see here. Then nothing to see there, but here he pulls the enemy down towards him, like brings him to the ground. But that's Garuda's talent. At first I thought it was Ifrit's, but you can see the kind of wind particles, and here you can really see the more Garuda-esque, other than the fact that it's kind of blurry. You can see the more Garuda-esque things. You can see like the little feathers and petals. So what it seems like is that you're going to have your main hand weapon, whatever it may be, and you're going to have an icon that you're also going to be bound to, probably something akin to style switches in Devil May Cry. And those are going to determine the types of attacks and the types of fighter you are. That's not even the last icon we see him using here. So the real question is, if the whole dominant term is being used for the summoning of the icon, does that represent somebody who can use it like this? Because this seems quite different from summoning Titan or Shiva versus having a few attacks that are themed off of them, or earning some of their power upon beating them, or the dominant can partake some of their power. But we get a very... And also, dude, if you like the bloodiness of Type 0, I mean, do you need to see more than that? Do you need to see more than a kid's half-stained hair of blood after his father and or guardian had their head chopped off? I don't think I need to break that down anymore. They're going after that kid for a very particular reason. Now, this is where we see... This is, I think, the only other icon I think we see in the trailer. And this looks to be Titan. So he does a perfect guard with Titan, and then he actually puts the sword away and does a couple of punch attacks right here, you can see. He does a 3-string punch attack ending with a launch. So that's, again, it looks like that's going to be the big thing. The customization level of it is a big question mark, but he's definitely channeling some of the different icons as different styles, because he fights quite differently with each of them. So curious to see how many of them are actually influencing his combat, how many you can swap between. That's going to be a big determining factor for the overall gameplay experience, especially if, again, focusing on a single character. Now, one thing that immediately comes out here, we saw this boy heal that guy earlier, and this boy Joshua appears to be Phoenix's dominant. But then there's this guy. So this is the other main villain that I think I see here. As much as I still think the lady or that court from earlier is a big deal, we don't know the context of this in the scene, but we can assume that this dude is summoning Ifrit. Yeah, so we see him bring forth Ifrit right here.
That's impossible.
And he's very afraid. That man is very afraid of them. And Phoenix and Ifrit have a big battle, and this is all fancy. Ifrit looks great, by the way. His snarling face.
The legacy.
And here's where it goes, like, Legacy of the Crystals and everything. I'm actually really glad to see Phoenix be such a major role in it. Final Fantasy XIV doesn't, you know, with Yoshida and Takai being in the crew, you know, I'm not really that surprised, but that's Hellfire. That was, yeah. Or Meteor Strike from 10. What was that? Hold on. It looks like I need to, what is that? Because it looks, is he ripping somebody apart? It looks like, kind of. Yeah, he is. It looks like he's ripping, yeah, he's ripping somebody apart. Literally just like, because that was like, that's blood. Yeah, that's blood. That's what I was trying to get the freeze frame of. Right here is this little like blood stain right behind the closed caption. Yeah, Ifrit's literally just ripping apart. I don't know if he's ripping apart Joshua. Maybe he's ripping apart Phoenix, like he's standing on top of Phoenix and literally ripping it apart. But I had to see if that was like somebody's silhouette or if that was just a blood splash.
I'll kill you. If it's the last thing I do.
And then that's it. I'll kill you if it's the last thing I do. I guess my only other remaining question, because it looks like this is the younger version of this guy, is what I'd assume. The other question would be, is one of these the protagonist? Is he the protagonist and he's the villain? But I'm pretty sure that this is the younger version of this guy. So we see this game take place across 2 sections. So this is him when he's younger, and then you get a section here where he's older. So you do get the 2 different sections. It looks like when he's younger, a lot of these atrocities are going to take place with Joshua. I'd assume a lot of this scene actually takes place in the younger years, and the later years are what we see throughout other parts of the trailer. But yeah, he's and on top of that, there's some familiar VAs. They're clearly using the same voice acting studio, because I think we hear Graha and one other person, their VA is in this. Ishtola's, I think, is also in this. And the main, and then the main art here is Phoenix against Ifrit. So, oh, dude, I can't wait. I'm so pumped. Devil May Fantasy, I'm all about it. And the music, by the way, I'd have to imagine Soken's working on this. I don't think it's credited anywhere yet, but come on. It's Creative Division 3. I have to imagine Soken's doing some of this. It sounds very Soken. Now, for people wondering, it says PlayStation 5 console exclusive. In the original trailer, it actually says also available on PC, but it seems that that's going to be a timed exclusive, probably a year. That seems to be the average going time. But, I mean, I was getting a PlayStation 5 anyway, so what do I care? Now, the big thing is people are wondering when this is actually going to release. And I am too, because I want to play it right now, and I will settle for nothing else but tomorrow. But that's not reality. So if we go over here to the blog, this is the PlayStation blog we're looking at right here. Naoki Yoshida, our producer and director for 14, is now also the producer of Final Fantasy 16. He says, how the team has grown over this time, but their next big information reveal is scheduled for 2021. I expect everyone to have fun speculating, not only for Final Fantasy 16, but for Final Fantasy 14 too. Now, that's obviously interesting that he brings those up. I'd imagine because most people are expecting a collaboration, so he expects people to be speculating on that for quite some time. And he says he'll be working hard on both. Obviously, we also have to wait for the expansion announcement for 14. But then Hiroshi Takai being the director. Now, for those who don't remember Hiroshi Takai, I have prepared an image for you. No, he is not Koji Fox on the left. On the man on the right is Hiroshi Takai. And you may recognize from some of the 14-hour broadcasts that they've done in the past. He's done like the Yokai Farm event, and he did, I think, Atma's one year and stuff like that. Yeah. And he's hella entertaining. He's been someone who's worked really hard on Final Fantasy 14. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what he's got in store for us as the director of Final Fantasy 16. He says that he was brought on around the end of Final Fantasy V's development. Somebody said he actually produced or direct Last Remnant as well, which I didn't know. And then he says that obviously he said he left his mark on both Final Fantasy 11 and 14, and now Final Fantasy 16. So he's got. If he pulls this off, dude, it's gonna be massive. I'm hard pressed to not be excited for this, dude. I'm so ready. I'm so ready. Oh man. But anyway, yeah, that's our breakdown of the Final Fantasy 16 trailer. And if any other information pops up, doesn't look like there's going to be a lot before 2021 based on Yoshi P's comment. It'll be on the channel. Come on now. Of course it'll be on the channel. Don't be surprised. But anyway, on that note, I'm going to wrap up the recording, wrap up my Twitch stream separately. So I'll hang out for a few more minutes over in Twitch. And enjoy. Watch the trailer a million times because I know I will. Thanks everyone for tuning into this video. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned for more. You know the drill. Anyway, thanks for watching. And until next time, take care.